boys and girls, to Kinkajou Cove for our last day of Bible adventures. I'm so excited that you are joining us today. Let's sing our welcome song one last time. We are looking for a treasure. Can you help us find it? Is it over here? Is it over there? Wait, it's you and me. God says we're a treasure. That was awesome, boys and girls. This week, we have met many of Chewy's friends at Kinkajou Cove. We met Pogo the frog. We met Ruby the parrot. We met Wilder the spider monkey. We met Grace the butterfly. And today we're going to meet our last buddy, which is Raymond the caiman. And he is going to help us to learn about our final Bible point for this week. During the week, we've learned about several Bible points, along with the Bible stories that our friends have helped us to learn. On Monday, we learned that God knows you. On Tuesday, we learned God hears you. On Wednesday, we learned God comforts you. On Thursday, we learned God forgives you. And today, our fifth and final day, we are going to learn that God chooses you. And Raymond the Caiman's even going to teach us our Bible verse. And that is, I have called you by name, you are mine. So God knows who you are and that you are his. So today, with our Bible point, God chooses you, in today's Bible story, we are going to see how God chose Esther for something special. But before we do that, we have to remember what we learned from yesterday's lesson. Yesterday, in the Bible story, we learned about Jesus' special friend, Peter. When Jesus was arrested, Peter wanted to see what was going to happen. So he quietly followed Jesus and the soldiers into the building where they were holding him. People saw Peter and they asked him if he was a friend of Jesus. But he was afraid, so he lied 3 times and said that he was not Jesus' friend. The people, however, did not believe him since they had seen him with Jesus the day before. So Peter, afraid, ran away and began to cry. Peter knew he had not been a good friend to Jesus. After Jesus died, 3 days later, he arose. And Peter couldn't believe it. His friends then went fishing, and he saw Jesus standing on the shore. Peter was so happy to see Jesus alive. And Jesus asked him if he knew him and loved him. And of course, Peter said that he did. Jesus asked him 3 times, and Peter told him 3 times that he did love him and know him. And he asked him for forgiveness. And you know what? Jesus had grace, and he gave him his wish. Jesus forgave Peter. So Miss Sharan is going to share today's Bible story with us, which is how God chose Esther to save her people when they were in need.
Well, hello, boys and girls. As Miss Johanna said, today we're going to be talking about a girl or a woman named Esther. And up here on the poster, you can see Esther. Now, can you imagine being chosen by God and you are going to save lots and lots of people? Well, let's listen to our Bible story. Now, just like a few days ago, Esther's an easy name to pronounce. Can you say Esther? Esther. But some of the other names are a little confusing. So we'll try our best here and see what we have. Now, if you remember, we talked about lots of people in the Bible, and all of these people were people that God chose to do important jobs. We had a king, we had Peter, with Jesus' friends. And so today, the important job that Esther has is to save her people. I don't know, but that sounds pretty scary to me. So the story starts out, long time ago, there was a king named Xerxes. That's hard to say, Xerxes. And Xerxes needed a new queen. So he told his helpers to go out into the kingdom and get all the most beautiful women that they could find. And he would choose one. And out of all the women in the kingdom, the king chose, guess who? Esther to be his queen. Now, Xerxes chose Esther because she was beautiful. But it was really God who chose Esther to be his queen. Not because she was beautiful, but because God had a special plan for her and an important job that she was going to do. Now, the king had lots of helpers, and one of his helpers was named Haman. That's not too hard to say, Haman. The king thought that Haman was a really, really good helper. But guess what? He was really a mean person. And so, when Queen Esther came into the court, Queen Esther also had a cousin who was a helper of the king. And his name was Mordecai. Mordecai was a good helper who loved God. Haman didn't really love God, but the king didn't know that. Mordecai even saved the king's life at one time. Now, one day, Haman and Mordecai met, and Haman got mad because Mordecai would not bow down to him. In fact, he got so mad at Mordecai that he decided that he was going to hurt Mordecai and all of his family. But guess what? Haman did not know that Queen Esther was part of Mordecai's family too. So, Haman made a plan. He met with the king and tricked the king into making a law that would hurt all of Mordecai's family, which actually included Queen Esther too. When Mordecai heard about the plan, he was so upset, he was so sad, and he ran to tell his cousin Esther right away. And Mordecai asked Esther if she could please go and talk to the king and not let this happen. And Esther said, but it's against the law to talk to the king unless you're invited. I could get in big trouble too. And Mordecai said, but Esther, I think God has chosen you to be queen so you can help me and all of us, all of your family. So Esther thought a little bit about it. She thought some more about it. And then she came up with a plan. She would have a special dinner. And she would invite Haman. And she would invite, of course, the king. So the king was happy to come to the dinner. And sitting right next to the king was going to be Haman. And Esther knew that if she told the king that his favorite helper had done something bad, he might not believe her. Then she'd still be in a lot of trouble. So she decided that she would tell the king over dinner. At her special dinner, Esther asked the king to help her. She told the king that Haman had tricked him into hurting all her family. And the king got really, really angry. In fact, he got so angry that he had his soldiers take Haman away. Then Esther, Mordecai, and all their family were safe because Haman was gone. So you see, God chose Esther to be at the right place at the right time so she could save her family and save Mordecai. So God chose Esther, just like our Bible point of God chooses you and God chooses me. Sometimes we don't know why, and sometimes we don't understand why we have the situation that we have. But he has a special plan in our life. The most important part of the plan is that God wants you to be his friend. And if we're God's friend, God who knows us, God who hears us, the God will comfort us, the God will forgive us, and the God will choose us for all of the right plans that he has for us. So we thank you, boys and girls, for joining us here at Kinkajou Cove. And we hope you've had a good time with all of your crafts. And we have one last craft, which is the cross. And when you get the cross in your packet, it will look like this, all right? And you have the stickers and some decorations that you can put on. And in fact, it even has the words, God chooses you. And when you're all finished, you can put the tie on it and you can hang it up. And at the bottom, it says, God picked you to help bring others to Jesus. So always remember that no matter what situation you're in, God has chosen you to be that very, very special person. And now, I'd like to just make a note to some special people. We'd like to thank Miss Johanna for doing some of the lessons. And I'd like to thank Sharan Rinehart for helping me make all these decorations and making all of our posters here. And we hope to see you again in Sunday school and Vacation Bible School. So thank you for being part of our treasure this year.